Welcome to Talk to SATV, sponsored by Grand Palace Hotel and Resort, where we dive into the deep discussions of most pressing global and national issues. Today, our guest is Barrister Olor Afrin. She is a regular practitioner in Bangladesh as well as in UAE. She completed her bachelor's degree from University of London. Later on, she was called upon to bar by the Honourable Society of Lincoln's Inn. And from then, she is regularly practicing in Bangladesh as well as in Dubai. So, welcome to our show.
Thank you very much.
Barrister Afrin, my first question to you, as we all know, intellectual property is a emerging subject that we are having right now, and Bangladesh has been signatory to the TRIPS agreement since 1995, but it took them so long because they have enacted the Geographical Indication Act in 2013.
Yes.
So what took them so long to enact a law, and how would you assess the current state of our intellectual property regime over here in Bangladesh?
Okay, so your first two questions, why it took so long? I would say it is lack of understanding. And secondly, I would say the changing of the government staff from different department to different departments. So this would be my main two reasons. And secondly, I would say it's not only limited to the TRIPS agreement. On the other hand, there are multiple treaties that needs to be signed by the government. Otherwise, Bangladesh is still been deprived from a lot of, exposure, trainings, research and development sectors, because World Intellectual Property Organization, who is the mother organization who regulates and monitors all the improvements of all the Asian countries and the European countries. So when I went to Geneva for my trainings, that is almost like 7 years back in 2018. That time, the head of the Asian department, she called upon me and said, "Walera, we don't give any support to your country, or we are not inclined to give any advice even just because you people, you do not obey the law, and you people do not sign the multiple agreements, those are still pending." And when I got to know about this, I communicated to the ministries, and I have written to them. But then again, what comes to the vacuum is that the lack of expertise. The government of the people who are dedicated in the government, they don't understand why they would sign a treaty, why is it important, and what would be the impact. For example, the PCT and the Beijing Treaty and the other treaties, those are relevant. I mean, it's high time that the government signs these agreements. Otherwise, there won't be any interchange relationship development between the countries. The business won't be coming here. There won't be money flow. So these are actually it's stuck somewhere, because the different ministries, they pass over the files at the different ministries, and it goes table to table. But then again, there is no progress on work. So I would say, after I talk about TRIPS agreement, which is far beyond in the 90s, in 2025, there are a lot of treaties that should be signed and more expertise to be created from Bangladesh, so that there are more IP implementation, because IP is one of the main important source from where the money flows into the economy. So if we want to increase the budget of Bangladesh, if we want to increase business and compliances in Bangladesh, IP is a mandatory compliance.
So, as a nation, we are quite a bit slow, because
Yes.
whenever we sign a treaty, it's not only about intellectual property. In Bangladesh government, if it signs any treaty, it takes 10 to 12 years generally, normally. As a nation, we are 10 years always slow to enact a law. It's about human rights conventions or other conventions as well. But what are the major legal and institutional weaknesses that you have found? You have already narrated these are the weaknesses that we do have, because we don't actually sign the conventions and treaties regularly, which we should have done. So other than that, you have mentioned about the lack of expertise that we do have. So what government should do to enhance their expertise so that Bangladesh could cope up with the emerging prospect of intellectual property?
Firstly, I would say Bangladesh needs to train its own people. The IP officers needs a lot of trainings, lots of capacity building. Because whatever we see, because I was appointed back in 2016 in the Cultural Ministry to serve as a legal consultant for free. So when I was appointed in 2016, and then what I found was that there was no actually budget for the legal department on the IP compliances to check. And at the same time, there's around like more than 40 people working in the IP office, only in the copyright and the Department of Industries. There is this patent and trademark. There are more than that. But what comes to place is that the lack of training and all these international agreements, the treaties are all in English. And the people who have been appointed, they hardly knows the proper legal terms or the proper interpretations of all these agreements and the importance and the compliances that they need to check whether they fall within the compliance of Bangladeshi law or the cross-border laws. Those are relevant. So what comes into place is I had to see all those agreements, I had to recommend on the policies, I had to recommend on the amendments. So there were multiple issues. So when it went to the register and then it went to the secretary and then to the ministry, then again it got stuck very slow because nobody actually understood. And there was no studies, there was no training. So I have written multiple times against to the law ministry, to the cultural ministry, that the departments of the IP offices, every single person, they need special trainings and they need special knowledge and understanding of the law and the interpretation of the law. Because if you're aware, the copyright law was enacted first in the year 2000 and then amended once in 2005, and then the entire new law in 2020, and then it came into enacted later after 2 years. So what happens? Within 20 years, there was not much, what do you call it, any amendments or recommendations. What are the needs of the country, or where are the stakeholders being stuck? There were no even judgments or the law reports which were highlighted in the DLR, unless Masood Rana case came up in 20 years. So you see the gap, and there's no special bench in the High Court division as well that you can actually give the matter to. There's no specialized bench. So either there has to be a tribunal, as there is one in like customs tribunal, there is a labor tribunal, administrative tribunal. So these special cases need special attendance, need special care and special knowledge and expertise. So there is no tribunal or court, there is no special bench. The government departments people are not aware because it takes a lot of hard work and studies and less money at the beginning, and then the money flows afterwards. So we don't find any patient people who are eager to know or understand or learn new things or passionate about their work. So I think these are the main lackings from the government, if you call it private or public. I think it's the capacity, it's the training, and it's the right people who would monitor or actually follow up, the letters those who have been sent, for example, BIDA, if I talk about the foreign investments that comes into Bangladesh, the IP compliances are must. BIDA doesn't have an IP wing.
So
our tax, exactly. So it's a non-functional thing. So when a business person is coming into Bangladesh, and at a certain stage of time when he or she or the company will be facing issues, so it will be around 1 or 2 years, and he would be stuck at the end of the day. So they won't be having any precautions to take prior to actually deal with the business. So, and then again comes the NBR, the main tax authority, because tax is unavoidable. At the same time, IP is also unavoidable. So when there are IP issues, there are a lot of tax coming up from it, which is actually beneficial to the government. The IPR wing in the NBR is locked under several keys, and there is nobody who is operating. So you see, things are there. It needs nurture, it needs care, it needs an expertise. And whenever we want to go, and you see Bangladesh is full of infringements, starting from television to books, to trademarks, to the logos and everything. There are piracy all over. So the main power and the business persons are to some extent more related to the infringements, so which actually needs a lot of bargain from the government as well to negotiate and come up to a proper IP compliance issues. So a lot of monies are still being laundered because of lack of IP compliances. So end of the day, Bangladesh is losing money, Bangladesh is losing tax, Bangladesh is losing expertise, because, for example, myself, I've been practicing it for last 12 years. So I don't have my value of my expert here in Bangladesh, but I have it in Dubai. So I have shifted to Dubai, okay, because IP compliance is a must. It's the country is expanding, a lot of people are coming, they're opening business. So there is a system, there is a process. But in Bangladesh, there is all this vacuum and nobody is eager to work. Or even if there is a people like us who we want to work to, but then again, there is no sustainability because the infringers come and they bug you, they knock you, they don't want to see you. So these are the main problems here in Bangladesh.
Okay, so what about you were talking about the connections between IP and money laundering.
Yes.
So can you give us enlighten us with an example?
For example, if you see the Money Laundering Act in Bangladesh, there's a special schedule which says like certain categories amounts to money laundering, and over there is a schedule where you see that breach of intellectual property amounts to money laundering. For example, the contents that we are seeing online in YouTube or Facebook or Google, where you see a lot of videos or songs and drama and cinema and all, and you see small clips as well, those are all being monetized. And these monetizations, these are actually companies formed in Singapore or UK or any other company which are not legally registered in Bangladesh. So there is no IP compliances. For example, it's from my companies, from my production house. You have uploaded it on your own. You have not taken any permission from me. I've not given you any license to allow you to monetize my content, and you're not giving me any money or any royalty. As a result, it amounts to money laundering, and it's a severe crime, which in the new copyright law, these are being reflected, and there are high penalty and punishment for all this right now.
But is it implemented?
No, because for the implementation, as I said, the judges needs training. The polices, the executives of the governments need training. The IP institutes officers needs training.
That is where I actually I was coming. That is whether our judiciary or our legal institutions are equipped enough to settle the dispute, especially IP dispute, and when the other party is a multinational company.
Yeah.
So are they equipped enough?
No, not really, because you see, there is always a separate wing or separate expertise of IP people, those who are dealing with the IP, compliances. So in Bangladesh, the multinationals, for example, if I talk about big multinational, let's say Nestle or Unilever, or they have a lot of pirated products which are made in Chowk Bazaar or any other place, and they sell it, all over. So there is a breach of IP infringement. So what comes is that the police who would be confiscating those products, they are not aware, or they don't know how to distinguish or what documents that they would check before they confiscate, or whom the company would go and complain. You see, so there are jurisdictional issue, there are understanding issue, there are a systematic error, which actually, altogether it makes a mess. And which initially also takes time in the court even to complete an IP case, even in the lower courts. And then let's not talk about high court, because it's very less. Yeah.
So how do the local businessmen or entrepreneurs, they do understand IP laws in Bangladesh? Do they actually understand IP laws? Do they feel the importance of protecting their intellectual property interest? Or when it comes to protecting the traditional Bangladeshi products like jamdani, the hilsha fish, the ilishmas that we do know popularly. So are they aware enough to protect their own right? Do they have interest of it? Because I don't find any interest even to the in the entrepreneurs that we do have in this country.
Again, there are two issues that I will highlight. One is the cultural mind, that they say, okay, let me start it. Whenever there is a problem, I'll see. Let's not bother right now. So this is one thing, that they don't want a precaution beforehand. And secondly is, when they do not take this precaution beforehand, all the giants, they eat up the small ones. Right? For example, if I say the Bangladeshi Nokshi Katha, there is a certain people or an indigenous people group who are making it, right? So there should be a certain right going to them, because it's their design, it's their thoughts, it's their people who are making it. Or for example, any medicine, if you go to the rural area, that they know, okay, if a snake bites you, how you would cure that. So there is a special idea or trade secrets that goes on to them. So those are not yet protected, and the abuse of that process is certain group of big business persons who take it, and they don't even give any credit, or they do it on their own way, which actually deprives those small indigenous group of people, and at the same time these business persons are making money. So when it comes to an indigenous people, a certain group of people, or it comes to small business persons or an entrepreneurs or the SMEs, I would suggest there are a lot of awareness that needs to be built up, and it's on the government, it's a must that they should take the initiative, because it's a matter of reliance, it's a matter of understanding, and it's a matter of trust. So when it will be coming from the government, I think it will follow up, but mere doing seminars or I wouldn't say this talk show even would actually much make an impact. It's more of the policy and it's more of a strategy, and it has to come in a different way to the public, you know, making the audience, especially to the business persons, to the entrepreneurs, to the SMEs, they must survive. Otherwise, you know, the business won't flow. And end of the day, a lot of people will be affected very badly due to these non-compliances.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to go on a short break. Please do come back after the break because we will be discussing other important issues relating to IP and trademarks. Welcome back to Talk to Satv, sponsored by Grand Palace Hotel and Resort. Before the break, we were discussing about the weaknesses of IP law in Bangladesh, and it came out that lack of signing agreement, lack of expertise that we do have amongst our government officials, and nobody has the knowledge, especially the entrepreneurs. They're very short-sighted. They don't want to look far. So those are the problems that we are now facing regarding intellectual property. Well, by Afrin, Bangladesh has benefited from TRIPS flexibilities as an LDC, especially in pharmaceuticals. That's, you know, remarkable, you know. And with LDC graduation ahead, what are the potential risks and how can we prepare ourselves?
I think it's the benefit that Bangladesh could have taken. I think it's almost at the end. And now it's high time for Bangladesh to actually develop or understand the overall system, and the pharmaceutical company is big enough in Bangladesh and it's expanding outside Bangladesh, and all the pharmaceutical companies must understand and endure and respect that the IP compliances are must and prepare themselves in terms of making a particular medicine on their own formula, or, you know, having a bargain, buying it permanently with the you know, other companies, or having their own IP policies and strategies so that they can have their own rights to them and they can give royalties to the other companies that will be coming up from them.
Is Bangladesh well prepared for this vision?
Not
or
yet.
For this venture? Because, and my other question to you is whether they have utilized this opportunity or it's been underutilized for years. Because we are pretty, you know, end of it, and still we are not prepared enough. So what's the situation?
I think almost the big companies are overburdened with loans from the bank. So they are now more concerned of paying to the banks than to what is coming to them. So unless there are more cases or fines or penalties coming up for them, I don't think they would be, you know, understand the importance that what they should do.
Now we will move into another genre of your work, that is, you know, recently you were, you know, you were advocating for the labours in UAE, and Bangladeshi workers were imprisoned for a protest, anti-government protest, or, you know, engaging in unlawful assembly. So how do you find out this? Because I was in London, you were in Dubai, we were, you know, I saw a Facebook status, then, you know, you started, you know, looking for those laborers. You went to the nook and corner of the country, went to different jails, and we know how UAE weather is. So how do you, you know, find the motivation, and when do you think, because you were, you know, more naturally on IP law, rather than being a human rights advocate. So suddenly you have shifted. What motivated you? What actually, you know, sparked you to stand beside those exploited people, you know, in the distant part of the earth?
What happens is we lawyers, we often tend to forget our main rooted cause of work or the main rooted nature of work. Who are we? What are we supposed to do? So whenever we, as a lawyer, we take oath, the oath that we take in the Bar Council and the oath, you know, as a lawyer, when we do in the Lincoln's Inn, what do we say? The main two lines are that we, being the lawyers, we would protect the Constitution, the rights of the people, without any fear or favor. right? So whenever I'm doing any work, my works are certainly different. It's not like any traditional work because IP practice is different. It takes time. It takes a lot of passion to dig up on new things. Same as to the migrants as well. I wasn't really into immigrant work, or I was not even into, the labor laws or stuff like that. But what motivated me is that I, as a citizen, or I, as a lawyer, what I have given back to my society. True. Where do I stand, and what are the things that I should do and what I'm looking up to. So that's what brought me into getting up and taking up this case. And if you're aware, at that time, still now, the visa for the Bangladeshis are still off in the UAE. And for certain reasons, there was not enough option for the government to actually, hire somebody else. So at that time, I, being a person who can bridge the gap and have that negotiating power and actually, freeing up those people, I would say it was more of a matter of courage and guts at that time.
Passion as well. And timing. Because at that time, nobody was actually aware or wanted to think of other. They were only thinking of themselves at that time. True.
Where my position would be, whether I will be promoted or not, whether I will be in the job or not. So there were a lot of multiple issues going on at the same time. The overall country was unstable. People's mentality was unstable. The businesses were unstable. So at that time, there has to be somebody who could take it up and actually move forward and, have that negotiating skill to actually, build that up and make it happen. So actually, I would say, that's how it happened. And I think it's on the nature, it's on the people who know me, who believed in me, actually made it happen as well.
Because I do remember, because back in those days, they were into the different jails.
Yes.
There are a lot of obstacles that you have to face.
Yes.
And you have to be passion driven, and you were incessantly pursuing them to different jails and contacting the families, discovering their identities.
Yes.
And you were there alone. Your children are over here. Your husband is like a very renowned practitioner of customs, and he actually has connections with the laborers who stays in the Middle East because they are their clients. So, who motivated you towards this? Because you were in the middle of nowhere when you started.
Yeah.
And obviously no one was paying you back then.
Yeah.
So definitely it's been a passion-driven work that you were into. So what do you, how you feel back then? Because, nobody was contacting you. So or the families have contacted you, or how do you discover the matter? And when do you actually started, and what obstacles did you face when you were actually advocating for the release of those workers and laborers over there?
Actually, it's almost been 3 years now that I do back and forth in Dubai. I have my own business company over there. I do a lot of, there are a lot of people that I met, right? And I know that there are labor issues. And I know that from Bangladesh, there's mostly the laborers are in the Saudi, in the Middle East mostly. If I don't differentiate, it's mostly the Middle East. And then again, there are a lot of people that knows me as well. But the main concern was the national security.
True.
Because whenever there is a national security, there is you cannot keep any proof of the documents. You cannot keep any, you cannot publicly disclose any documents, or you cannot always say to the media, what are you doing, how you are doing, because the diplomacy channel works differently.
Exactly.
And yes, there was pressure. At the same time, my security, because I stay in a hotel, I don't have a car. So there was my cousin who actually helped me, who stays in Fujairah, and he has to do back and forth with me at the same time. And I had to go to all the Bengalis associations over there, starting from the cleaners to the laborers, to the people who are, appointed as a, chef in the restaurant, or who are selling, clothes in the markets. I just had to speak to them hours and hours to give me that name who were caught, because, it was nowhere, and nobody actually bothered to get to know who are in the jail. And then when I said that why there was nothing still coming up, that time it took a turn. And then, my appointment was made by the government of Bangladesh. And then the people who saw me on the social media, the families tried to contact me. there were other people who knew that, okay, I know this people, they have been caught, please do not disclose my name, or you know it through me. So I had to do it like in a very different, there was a different art, I would say, or different strategy that I had to make it happen, because at the same time I was distressed myself, because everybody was relying on me, everybody was looking forward to me, and I was alone, and I being the only daughter of my parent, they were worried, my kids were worried, and I never thought that it would take that long. But then again, if I'm not wrong, it took me exactly 30 days to know from the government that it's been pardoned, because it was the day when the petition was on the court, and the honorable ex-ambassador was trying to have a negotiation done, and our honorable chief advisor made a phone call, and all these three things happened at such a short time. And I was sitting at the ministry, and my friend Miss Hiba, who was doing the case, she was at the court, I was at the ministry, the ambassador was in his office, and things happen in such a, like, in few minutes. It was not like a negotiation was going on for a long time, but I had to build up a pressure, or build up the importance, and build up the emotions that was lacking, and making them realize that if we don't take them out, they will die over there. Who gonna look up to them? And when one group of people came out, then through them we could know the other names who were with them at the same prison. And then we had to make another list. And then in 2-3 terms, people were coming out. In the UAE, there are ways how they do their diplomacy on their own. And in Bangladesh, I would say we are still lacking a lot behind in terms of diplomacy, in terms of any negotiation, because we don't have study on the market. We don't have study on what the other nations are doing. We don't have any study on, what would be beneficial to us. It's always the parties having night outs. It's always the own benefit, where I'll be posted next. So this won't give any benefit to the country itself, you see. So I would say people like me, or people like there needs to be thousands of Volora working to build a nation, because we need to be honest to ourselves, we need to be honest to our profession, we need to be honest to and dedicated to our clients. And see, when we had to file an appeal to make them out, no families could bear actually the amount that is required to make an appeal. And whenever you hire an Emirati to move a case, it's high. The legal fees are very high in the UAE.
True.
So who gonna finance? So there were certain issues coming up. Okay, those people could pay some, and I had to accommodate some, and then we could actually go to the court, to, okay, my lord, we want to have an appeal. So there were a lot of pressure that we had to build up to make it happen. And thanks to the ministries who were cooperating at that time, especially the foreign ministry and the law ministry, and also I would say the consul general in the UAE, and also the ambassador who was there. We actually had to sit several times to come up to a solution, who would do what and at what time. And it took a lot of challenges, of course, and at the same time a lot of brainstorming and a lot of hard work and dedication, and the belief of not giving up, I would say, were the main concerns.
Okay, we will come to that again after the break, because now it's a time for break, because justice delayed, justice denied. So I remember while the Saudi Crown Prince was visiting Islamabad, the then Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan urged, because a lot of Pakistanis are incarcerated in Saudi jails. So they were there for years.
Yes.
But it is your initiatives that you have started, and that actually, broken the silence, and a humongous consolidated effort that, bear fruit. So we will talk about that more after the break.
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to go on a break. After the break, do come back, because then we will discuss more about these labor issues that we are facing right now in Bangladesh and in Middle East and other countries. Welcome back to Talk to S.A.TV, sponsored by Grand Palace Hotel and Resort. Before the break, we were discussing the loan endeavors that she has started during the unlawful assembly by our laborers, and then how they have been released and how successful endeavors that bear fruit. So my question to you, whether the lawyers, Bangladeshi lawyers, are ready to face these international challenges, or the challenges that our citizens do face in international arena, or in different countries, whether our lawyers are ready. Well, my question is not regarding to only labor laws or labor rules. It's about IP as well, because we are thoroughly discussing that how there's a lack of knowledge. We were discussing about the lack of knowledge of the officials, but definitely there is lack of knowledge within the lawyers communities as well. So how we could eradicate these problems, and how we could equip our lawyers more about this, so that they could get out of those traditional legal practice and think about it, that yes, there are subjects, there are struggles that people are facing, and people do need legal representation for them. So what do you feel that how we would train our young lawyers for these new challenges that we're going to face in the next era?
You see, it's a hard truth, but then again, I don't mind saying it. That is, when it comes to the old traditional way of practicing, pen and papers, you see the cause lists are still manual. If we want to digitalize it compared to the other countries, and we want to be, standing beside them, there are a lot of changes that we have to acknowledge and advance ourselves. For example, it's AI everywhere, right? It's ChatGPT. Hello, ChatGPT, can you tell me this is this? Hello, Siri, can you look at me there? So there is a lot of things or softwares or advancements that are going on, which makes the work easy. At the same time, those are in breach of the compliances of the IP. So if I, in particular, when it comes to the IP practicing lawyers, I would say that IP is one of the most complex law. It takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of passion for any lawyer to actually build up a case or make up a case. So in that instance, I would say that when it comes to practicing in IP, you would find a lot of lawyers, traditional lawyers, who are practicing it. But then again, when it comes to a practicing lawyer from Bangladesh standing in an international platform compared to any Indian lawyer, any Russian lawyer, any Chinese lawyer, or any other European lawyer, then you would know where you stand. If I consider myself being in Dubai, I know how fast it's growing, and I know the lawyers from Dubai, from different nationals who are practicing IP, that's their level of thinking, my level of thinking, the amount of books that they read, or the journals that they follow, or the newsletters that every morning with a mug on their coffee they read. So I know that where we lack in terms of exposure, we lack in terms of knowledge and the system itself, we lack in terms of the urge of being pushed or known. Because then again, it comes to our senior lawyers who would try to also accommodate us, being inclusive. Okay, these are the young lawyers coming in the court, they want to practice, we need to make it easier for them or better for them, or even if it's not easier, or at least accommodate them, make them inclusive, because there are always being a distinguish between barristers and advocates in the court. So considering that mind, you see there are a lot of less exams that goes on to the Bar Council. Every 3 years there is one exam, and they don't welcome barristers because our traditional court is filled with advocates, non-barristers. So they don't welcome the newcomers who wants to be independent, who wants to learn on their own. So these are the issues that still remains. So I would say it's a change of cultural mind that we need, and the system that we need to be more efficient and productive, which would end of the day make the overall process smooth. And there has to be an easy accessibility for the lawyers for trainings. For example, when we do bar in London or in New Zealand or Canada, wherever. Australia. There is a extreme, intense course that we go through. And the regular advocates who pass from a university, give the Bar Council exam, what are the trainings that they lack? They have to know how you stand up yourself in front of a judge and you submit your case. Your eye contact, your body language, your level of thinking, the pen and your postures and everything, it matters a lot to the other lawyer and to the judge and to your client as well. So these are the small issues, but very important issues, and I would say very, that can actually impact your case, destroy your case, or make your case. So in that terms, I would say it's on the Bar Council, it's on the Law Ministry to take up on it and actually encourage the young lawyers and make them ways, maybe, giving scholarships or funding half or 50% for the exposures or the practical world that they need to see or to understand themselves where his or her footing is and where the world is. I think, from my end, this is it. And what was your another question?
Well, that was my question. The other thing is that, I want to say that I always try to, say to my students that accusing us will not benefit you.
Yes.
So accusing Bar Council, end of the day, will not benefit the young lawyers. So my question to you, what is your advice to your young colleagues that who are coming into the profession?
Okay.
That, regarding the intellectual property and they want to pursue in the different genre of practice other than the traditional way of civil criminal.
My suggestion would be, listen, it's very plain and clear and simple. Whenever I started to do my juniorship, my father used to say, Walora, you have to go first and you have to come last because you cannot miss any step. When you go to court, you have to know the job of the security guard, the job of the people who are dispatching the letters, the job of the clerk, the job of every other person who are actually employed and dedicated to the court. So whoever wants to grow, they have to find their own ways. Nobody gonna teach them what is the way. What I can advise is that, okay, you search online. If you want to practice IP, if you want to practice immigration law, if you want to practice in Dubai, if you want to go anywhere, you write on Google, you search on Google, what are the ways? It guides you. Okay, I need this training. Okay, you search online, you go to WIPO website, you go to DIFC website, you see what are the trainings that you can do it online. You enroll yourself online, you do it online, you go on more certification, you go on more practical trainings, those are possible online. So you just learn yourselves, adopt yourself, because whenever there is a task given online, so there are exams online, so you need to do a lot of research, you need to work on yourself, you need to work on the law. So there are things that you can do online, and if you want to pursue like in a different way, you can go for a master's, you can go for higher studies, you can go for any other trainings, the institutes those are providing. You have to be capable yourself. So if you want to make yourself capable, you have to make your own way. Nobody is gonna make your way. So from that perspective, I would say, if you're passionate enough as a lawyer to work and because we as a lawyer, we think last of the money. At least I think last of the money, because it's always the client. Okay, is my client happy? Is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything, that she might ask for? Is there anything that I could do extra so that she, she stays with me, or she doesn't get confused, because there are multiple issues that goes on until you deliver a case. So these are the things that you do it on your own. You follow your own instinct, you follow what's going on, you follow social media and online, what are the regular courses that institutes are providing, how you can make yourself capable, how you can make yourself, do certain things. If you're good at trainings, you write to the ministries how you can do trainings, you talk to them, you get involved with the networking, you get, talk to the international persons, those who are coming. And that's how you do stuff, and that's how you actually find your way out where you want to see yourself.
True. And the other thing is that the litigants has to be, make aware about their right, because as you were mentioning that we are very short-sighted, our entrepreneurs, our litigants as well. They are short-sighted about their profits. They don't think long. So I always give an example. If a traffic police slap a rickshaw puller, he doesn't have that sense that there is a human rights violation that's been happened. He thought that I'm in the wrong lane and it's been justice that's been delivered by the slap of a traffic police. He doesn't have that sense that my human rights been violated. So that is the lawyer's responsibility as well. So do you find any lack on it, that lawyers are not giving proper suggestions nowadays, or there is a malpractice in our profession? So regarding making the clients aware of their rights, how they will approach to the litigations, or where there is no need of litigations, we are actually prescribing them for litigation. So these things are happening, do you think?
These things are happening long way back.
True.
I mean, there are malpractices, it's all over the world. But particularly if I were to say in Bangladesh, yes, how do we get a case referred? You have to see. How we build up clients, you have to see. How we deliver a case, you have to see. So in that case, the number of brokers, those are going on around us. If it is inside court, if it is outside court, it's there.
We have a Tout Act from back British era.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
how would you come up, even if we read our Bar Council ethics and practices, who gonna stop them? Who gonna work for us? It's us, or it's in every individual who has to make their own way. So there will be malpractice, there will be brokers, and there will be other multiple issues coming up, but every lawyer has to find out his or her own strategy, or his or her own way, or his thinking way of different, activities or arena to make it happen. So these things will be there. I think it's inevitable, but then again, we have to make our way out.
Let us go on a personal note. So one law you would change immediately.
Well, if it's my arena, I would say it's IP.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of, if I say about the trademark law, if I say about the patent law, if I talk about the copyright law and the rules as well. So I would say it would be, of course, regarding IP. And secondly, if it's a 1, 2, 3, then if there is option, then I would say, of course, the immigration law as well as the customs law.
Last but not the least, my last question to you is a lawyer or activist that who inspires you.
Do you mean a person, an individual person?
Or it could be anyone, but any institution or any person who inspired you, to go for the...
I would say it is not any particular person or institution. I would say it's more of a person that I follow, or I, see their work, or I see their way of dealing things, or I see their way of thinking, or their upbringing, because there are a lot of multiple issues that works at the same time, because we cannot say any particular person, but then again, I would say it's always my mother firstly, and secondly, I would say it's Princess Diana, and then there are particularly any female persons who are coming up with good spirit, helping others, putting themselves as the second, are my idols.
Right, so Olor Afrin, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Ladies and gentlemen, now we come to the last part of the show. Well, throughout our discussion, it came out that lack of signing agreement by Bangladeshi authority in terms of IP law, and lack of expertise that we are facing right now between the officials as well as between the lawyers, and nobody has the knowledge from top to bottom. So we need to train ourselves in terms of IP, so that the more interest could be protected of our citizens. And there is a lack of proper forum that we do face. So these are the problems that we do find, and the awareness, making aware of the making the entrepreneurs aware of their right, that is very important. And insistently the young lawyers have to go for capacity building or skill building. That would these endeavors would actually lead us towards ensuring a proper legal administration in terms of IP, in terms of other legal arena. So a warm welcome to all of you for staying with us, and definitely we will do come back to the next show with a new guest, and until then, Allah Hafiz.